Over 60% of men under the age of 30 are single. That's a 253% increase in the last decade. And it's no better for guys who are over 40 years old as well. With endless dating advice on our fingertips, dating apps everywhere, why are so many men struggling when it comes to attracting, finding a good mate? This podcast is about to help you understand the biggest mistakes that men are facing when it comes to dating, attraction, relationships, and why is it that we are struggling here? What are the crucial mistakes that we're making and how to stop them making them? I'm Faisal Coco, your No More Mr. Nice Guy host. I'm joined with Ari and Chuck, and three of us are coaches dedicated to helping men become better versions of themselves. Guys, we're in this YouTube era. We have so much information about how to attract women, how to, be more, handle dating. There's so much stuff out there. Why are men still struggling? Chuck.
Well, I think it's a number of reasons men are struggling. I think a, our role models are different than they used to be. I think that there's a lot of, um, sort of the sensitive guy, the sensitive new age guy kind of thing going on there. I think we've lost a lot of our masculine energy when it comes to being assertive, when it comes to being, you know, being able to lead. And I think those things have kind of set guys up for being in the background. And I think the flip side of that is women have been conditioned more recently to be leaders and to be in their masculine and to be more assertive. And so I think there's a bit of a backlash of guys who are just kind of waiting for the woman to ask them out and to take the lead. I think that's one of the issues. Um, I don't know.
I
What
love
about
that
you,
issue.
Ari?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it wasn't even on my radar when I was dating, but I think that there is a lot more information out there, like you're saying, and you know what men aren't doing is working on that inner game, really developing their character, developing their leadership skills. I mean, those are things that take years, and really should be things you're working on as a child, as a teenager. And a lot of men are lacking those experiences going into adulthood, and they're making up for it in adulthood. So that's when I learned to lead. It was at the tail end of my marriage, when my marriage was falling apart. That's a tough time to learn how to lead in a relationship. um,
So why is like, for example, you both have mentioned, we're becoming the new soft age men and leadership is important. Why is leading so important when it comes to attracting women?
Well, I hate to say this, but it's sort of the natural order of things. Um, and, I'm probably going to get canceled for that, but I think the reality
Natural
is
order
that,
too.
right, but it, that the masculine, and again, talking about energies, not so much about gender, masculinity does it. So doing is leading, doing is being assertive, doing is being courageous. It's all those things about the doing piece of it. And when you're in the receiving end of things, the feminine energy, then you're just waiting for somebody to come along and, you know, tell you this is what we're going to do. I think another primary thing that's really holds nice guys back is their fear of rejection. You know, if I talk to a girl and she doesn't give me the response I want, or if I go up and I approach her and I'm all nervous and everything, and then she doesn't give me the time of day, I think there's something wrong with me. And I think a lot of guys, especially, have this deep shame, especially around their sexuality and masculinity, that says, if I'm too assertive, if I'm um, too much leading, something like that, that they're going to shame me, they're going to reject me, they're going to. But I think that when you look at the types of guys who are in relationships, they're generally guys who have some of these sort of more masculine energy things of assertiveness and creating that leadership, and even the tension in that of, hey, come on, let's go do this, kind of thing, that assertiveness required to be able to bring her along. I think every woman, at least that I've talked to, who is kind of an alpha woman, she doesn't want to lead. She'll even say, I don't want to lead, but I'm going to test you to see if you'll take over. Can you handle me? I think is a kind of an underlining question. And I think guys oftentimes will see that as like a place where they don't feel qualified at, or maybe they don't feel that energy, and so they shrink back and they don't lead, and then they kill the attraction, and it just kind of goes on, and then they get the rejection, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy where they're back in that loop again, feeling unlovable and unacceptable.
You talked about leadership, and when I was growing up, all I heard was men are bad to lead, men are controlling, and men push around women. So these were the narratives or the complaints that I kept on hearing. And a lot of nice guys have heard those complaints, and you talked about it's I heard it as well. Being assertive is wrong. Yeah. Ari, did you ever have what kind of messages did you hear that you thought, hang on a minute, I've heard these messages, but they don't result in attraction, and women actually complaining about it, and it kind of contradicts the message I heard from building that attraction?
Well, I think I've generally been around more progressive people, you could call them, or even more feminist people, and I think there's just an expectation that relationships should be equal and 50-50, and men need to do their equal share of work. Women are burdened um, by being in the workplace and often having to be in charge at home. So there's this sense that men really need to step up in this way and do their equal share. Um, and that's a lot of the messages that I was getting, uh, before I was married, especially, and out in the dating world. So it wasn't about being a leader. It wasn't so much about being assertive. It certainly wasn't about creating polarity. That was not on my
Do you think
radar.
do you think that men do you think we got it wrong when it says we need to do everything 50-50? What did we get wrong there, which has resulted in a lot more challenges for for relationships and dating? What exactly went wrong when we said, oh, you have to be 50-50?
I think that, again, it's kind of like this idea of equality. All right. And there's equality in terms of worth, right? But then there's an inequality in terms of things like physicality. Men are stronger than women. That's why they're not allowed on the female basketball teams. Those kind of things like that. That men are just genetically different than women from the standpoint of how we show up. So there can't be in other words, I can't be equal with my wife in terms of physical strength. So that would mean either she would have to start working out and I would have to start being a lazy blob in order for us to kind of come to some
Watch
sort of
what you say
equality
there,
of that.
man.
Right. Yeah. But here's one of the things I think that guys here's where I think we're lacking in teaching guys how to be leaders. Okay. Because I think the idea of leadership is something that's almost foreign. It's like, well, I don't know what that means. Here's a really simple way to lead. All right. It's this: you create a vision. This is where I want to go. And then you say, come along with me. So I might say to my wife, hey, for vacation this year, I want to go to Disneyland. Disneyland's amazing and awesome. It's got all these rides and what we can do. We can be there, and we'll be in the tunnel of love together, holding hands. It'll be really romantic. And you sort of paint a picture of what it's going to look like. And then you just offer the invitation, come with me. And then if she says no, you go anyway. So you're leading yourself first by creating the vision for your life, and then you're painting a verbal picture for your partner or whatever, and then you're just creating that invitation to go along. So you're building the excitement along the way. You're not just saying, "Hey, get in the car, let's go."
Yeah, there's a difference between controlling and leadership, and I think this is where a lot of guys are. Is they're confused.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of men, when I start working with a lot of guys, and they're really confused. They're like, I have these two messages that are conflicting. I don't know which one works, and I'm afraid to try it out, because if I go and try it out, I'll be shamed. So I just need some sort of like guidance with that. And this is the biggest problem I'm seeing. One of the things I'm seeing with a lot of guys is that, like you said, we've lost our edge, we've lost our masculinity. We've been told it's wrong, it's bad. And what creates attraction is masculinity in a woman. When the guy shows up full, and by having this 50-50, when I thought this as well, like I bought into the narrative of, oh, it's got to be 50-50. There's nothing wrong with 50-50, doing things on a 50-50. What I believe, or what I see, is that men got it wrong is like being 50-50. You can still be dominant in your masculine part and still do things 50-50 and still show up, but you got to show up more in your nature, rather than what I see guys, and what is happening is they're diluting themselves. They don't have those masculine energies. They're being taught the feminine template. This is the right way. And what's happening is, when I bought into that, I find myself a lot more not in peace. I find myself more frustrated, angry, bitter about it, because I felt it was moving away from my nature and I couldn't put my finger on it. And there was a lot of shame around the fact that if I showed any kind of, I would say, traits that would be associated with masculinity. So, for example, what I see is like the biggest fall for men is not being dominant, because attraction in the erotic world is created by dominance. And what's happened for the last 50, 60 years is we told men to kill that away. Don't be bold, don't be courageous, don't take risks, play it safe. And when I see my sons being raised, and I see how mum speaks to them, because she's like, be safe, be safe, be safe. Don't take risks, don't be dangerous. Whereas, when I'm like with my sons, I'm like, yeah, let's do this, let's do that. And she's like, no, this is gonna be afraid, and don't push him, just play it down. And what's happening is he's diluting his natural instinct with what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got this passive guys, and then women say the same thing. I hear it so many times, is, where are the real men?
I think the other thing that happens with us is that when you go to a 50-50 thing, you're evaluating for fairness. Okay. And suddenly it's like, oh, if I'm doing more than 50%, then this isn't fair. And I sort of look at it, it's like it's 100%, 100%. You're giving 100%, she's giving 100%. I'm not worried about what she's doing as far as contributing. I'm worried about what I'm doing as far as contributing. And I think that, like, it isn't going to be fair because you're in polarity. The masculine is going to do, the feminine's going to receive. And so, and I think Robert talks about this idea of like 80-20 kind of thing. Like as a man, as a male, you're going to be 80% in your masculine and 20% in your feminine. And as a female, a similar ratio. She's going to be 80% feminine, 20%. And by that ratio, then it's not that I'm never in my feminine and she's never in her masculine, but the majority of the time, I'm doing. and it takes a lot of energy to do. And I think that's the thing where we get hung up and we're like, oh, I've been doing. All I want to do is I just want to sit back and let her give me a blowjob. That would be the most amazing thing. I don't have to do anything. Okay, yeah, but that's you being in your feminine, not in your masculine. And when you're in
Yeah,
your feminine, you're not going to attract the feminine. You're going to attract the masculine.
absolutely. And the masculine and feminine, for those who have never heard about these principles, it's a bit like the north and south. Like on a magnet, the north attracts the south, and that tension, that polarity that's created by those two south poles and north pole, it brings them together. Now, just to quickly wrap up, guys. So, what's the one thing that you would say to men today? Like, build this to attract women like a gentleman. So, what's the one thing you want to give them, Ra?
If you are stuck in the paradigm of, you know, this has got to be 50-50, I can't be leading, or that's toxic masculinity, or that's antiquated, I would suggest try it out. Try leading, um, by creating dates, by setting the direction that you want for the relationship, and just being clear about it. Take some risks, even if you don't know if your ideas will be well received. Um, Try it out. So try out being a leader in the relationship, and see how the woman responds, or how your dates respond.
Love that.
Test it out.
Thank you for that. Yeah, just try it out. I mean, so many guys are afraid of this. Chuck, what's the one thing that you want to give to the guys, and so they can better attract women like a
Yeah,
gentleman without being a nice guy?
I think one of the things that happens is there's just, like you said at the beginning of this podcast, there's a ton of information out there. Okay. What I found is anytime I try to learn something, whether it's like how to do a podcast or how to do YouTube or how to attract women, I get all this conflicting information. I've got one expert telling me, well, this is what you need to do in order to attract women. And then I've got another expert that's going, no, 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 don't do that. That doesn't work. What you want to do is this. And I think that conflicting information oftentimes will get guys, confused and sort of like the paralysis analysis, so they don't do anything. So my thing would be, you have within you your instinctual masculinity, all right, and you have your human brain to give you wisdom. Go ahead and read the books and things like that, but like Ari was saying, test it out. What works for you? Because if you're constantly trying to change things up, I think you're just going to be more confused. And I really feel like it's a whole lot simpler and less complicated than we make it. Simply just set the tone, paint a vision, invite.
Yeah,
This is where I'm going, and that's the basic right there.
that's a great message as well. Start leading yourself before you start leading, and that's an attractive trait as well. One of the things I would say to the guys as well is, reclaim your masculinity. That's the most attractive thing you can do when it comes to sexual attraction. Is feminine women are attracted to masculine men. Masculine men, embody dominance, assertiveness, and a lot of nice guys, and I did this as well in the past, had a real uncomfortable feeling about, like, oh, dominance is bad, being assertive is bad. They're not bad. It's how you use them, how you use your dominant. If you're a kind of guy who's like dominating his own life, being strong in the fact is, hey, I'm not going to go into the ruminating part. I'm not going to, cling on to something, become needy, and you're dominant in the fact in your own psychology. That's one of the most attractive thing. Is I see a lot of guys who are soft and gentle. I was that guy too. And it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It means that if that's not your natural balance, it's going to be off-putting to women. Reclaim your masculinity, refine your balls. And one of the ways to do that is in the men's group and men's coaching. Men need to go back to what they did for a long time, which was being guided by other men. And that's how you reclaim your masculinity. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
That's what we do.
you-
Week after week, we re-find our balls.
Absolutely. And we'll help each other find theirs as well. Thank you again for being part of the Nice Guy Show. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe and even comment. Send us a comment back to this as well. And if you're listening on your favorite platform, remember to subscribe as well. Go to theniceguyshow.com, join our mailing list, and check out another podcast is How to Deal with Her Flakiness, which is podcast number 48. Thank you guys, and see you in the next one.
You've been listening to The Nice Guy Show with certified Nice Guy recovery coaches Ari Graff, Chuck Chapman, and Faisal Kokar. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can listen to our latest episodes and visit us on www.theniceguyShow.com. If you have any topics you'd like to hear us discuss, send us an email at support@theniceguyShow.com. Thanks for listening.